Hello, welcome to another episode of The Good Word. Yours truly, Mr. Frederick. All right, guys. Hope everyone's doing good out there today. And remember, family, like, share, and subscribe to the videos, more importantly. All right, guys, I have a good one for you today. Let's get right into it. Today, we are going to talk about your internal dialogue. What to say? Watch it. Okay, and this is very important, family. One reason is a lot of times we just certainly don't pay attention to our internal dialogue. We tend to just go about whatever, go about our daily business, and we don't even pay attention to the voices going on in our head. But it's so important, and that's metacognition, because you really have to understand what you're saying to yourself, the voice in your head, okay, about why you do things, when to do things, how you feel. And a lot of times, as I always tell you guys on this channel, if you come from certain backgrounds, you might have not been allowed, or it might have not been taught for you to pay attention to your thoughts because you're focusing on the environment, trying to play everything safe. So we want to avoid that at this point, family. When you're moving forward, improving your life, and becoming the best you have to pay attention to your internal dialogue. It shapes why you do things. It shapes things you do, your habits, who you're around. It's all that voice in your head saying, I'm doing this because of this. And a lot of people, they're doing and they're moving in such a way where they're trying to be around certain people. They're creating situations where they need to be needed, where they need to be a part of some sort of group. For what reason? Getting some false validation, or getting some sort of pat on the back, or anything of that nature is not worth it. You have to know why you're doing what you're doing. And your thoughts, you have to pay attention to your thoughts. And that's your internal dialogue. Where did this voice come from? Is it your voice? Is it someone else's voice? That's all the things I want to talk about today, family. So, one thing, your internal dialogue is going to be coming from individuals that are influential to you, okay, that have influenced you over the years. Look at those people. Analyze those people. Are they good? Were they good? Were they bad? You have to do the work. You have to. It's not going to be easy, but sometimes you got to pull the scab off of the wound, family, and you got to really call it goat a goat, call a fish, call a duck a duck. And you have to do that because when your internal dialogue is somewhat warped, what will happen is you're walking around and you don't even know why you have certain thoughts that you have. You're not even paying attention to the importance of the individuals that have helped you manifest and help you keep these thoughts going in your head. How your confidence is, how much you believe in yourself, how much your will, how strong your will is. All of these things is your internal dialogue. Do you give up quickly? Do you stay in too long on things? All these questions you need to ask yourself. And you need to have good answers, family. And if you don't, find them. And that's only going to come about by your internal dialogue. Sometimes you might want to try to journal. Write things down. You could even write like a book. You could, anything like that, recording certain things. You could write notes, keep notes. Some people do a daily journal, whatever you want to do, but some kind of way you could do, if you don't like to write, you can do the voice with your cell phone. Just chirp it in and record it. A lot of the newer cell phones have that ability, and play it back. But pay attention to your internal dialogue, family. It literally can make you or break you in being successful. So whatever you're trying to accomplish, you need to know what you're saying to yourself to go along. But I believe in affirmations. I believe in daily affirmations. I believe in constant positive feedback. If it's not positive, family, keep it away from you. Okay? Because when that internal dialogue is shaped a certain kind of way, what will happen is these thoughts are coming into your head, and you're doing bad habits and fall into the same loop or the same things, the same people you're around, going to the same places, and you're not even realizing why you're doing it. Okay, so what the affirmations do is give you a different programming, a different set of thoughts, and you almost follow them mindlessly. You literally find quotes, find beliefs, find Bible scriptures that you believe in and hit home with you, okay? And you repeat them in the morning. Some people in the evening, but the morning is great because it's when you're getting your day started. But you start to reprogram your mind to help with that internal dialogue. Because if you were here because of that old programming and you're trying to go here, you need new programming. Just like Apple updates 2.0, 4.0, whatever the number is, they're always constantly updating the iPhone. Okay, Samsung, same thing. Androids are always upgrading. You got to upgrade you. And that internal dialogue, that's your mainframe. That's your that's all of your internal information that runs your system. Okay, so you want to watch that. And another reason is if you're not paying attention to your internal dialogue, what'll happen is you make yourself susceptible for negative patterns and thought processes where you could be people pleasing, you could be around individuals that you feel you need to be needed, like a martyr or savior process where you could actually take on certain positions that and roles and archetypes that just aren't you. They aren't your personality. It's something that was fed to you by a toxic, dysfunctional family. And it can really veer you off of your path, family. You might be at heart a very spiritual person, but say your family's not spiritual like that you come from. And you could get veered off subconsciously, not even understanding it, because you're picking people that are like what you was around. But you yourself are spiritual. You are a believer, but it's just you are going towards what you know as opposed to what's good for you. This is why you pay attention to your mind. When you're selecting people, don't just select them. Look at why. If it's just for physical, okay. If it's just for something they're giving you, if it's just because they make you feel good, if it's just because they make you feel needed, you have to do the honest work and give the honest answer, family, okay? Okay, another reason you pay attention to your internal dialogue is because, think about it, family, when you develop these archetypes, when you develop these personality traits over years, what will happen is they're so far off your true self and who you truly are that it might take you a lot of work to get back to your true self, okay? But that true self is still here. It's still here, family, I guarantee you. So it's not hope lost. It's just the first part is self-awareness and what you're saying to yourself, because that's the operation system that you're going about every day that is running you and your decisions and your choices. So understand, give me an example. If you're an individual that feel like you need to be needed all the time, forget why. It's come from your family of origin, whatever it is. But that's where you feel. Your internal dialogue is signifying, okay, when you see someone you feel in need, maybe you have too much empathy dealing with them. Maybe you put in too much work and require less work of them, naturally creating an imbalance in a relationship. So now, you know, when that's off, it's always not going to work because it has to be balanced as possible for something to work, okay? So that being needed is not necessary. You are valuable just yourself being you, being here. It's not you need to be doing this, you need to be helping this person, you need to provide entertainment here, you need to be a protector, you don't. You don't. Think about cats and dogs, family. Quick observation that I had having both in my lifetime. But dogs are generally, you know, they're for sport, guard dogs, you have worker dogs, you have medical, you have so many purposes that people keep dogs, breed them, and that's why you have a variety of breeds. Okay, so they all have these purposes. And, you know, you could train them to fall into what their breed is easily. Okay, now take a look at a cat, though. If you look at a cat, other than ancient Egypt where they had, you know, rodent killing, or unaliving abilities and purposes, and also they were highly ranked in spiritual in the spiritual society of ancient Kemet. Okay, understand this: cats really don't provide any job other than comforting and being companions for their owners. They go about their business. They catch what they catch out here hunting. But if they're domesticated, you're feeding them, so they have their food. They're not going to work. They're not doing this. They're not doing that. But yet they exist. Yet they're extremely popular and extremely valuable to a lot of people. Think about yourself like that. Spiritually, that is what you are when you're a baby. You're not doing anything. If anything, you're more of a responsibility on your parents. To feed you, to change you, to protect, all of these things. But you are still valuable. And this is what I'm bringing it back to, family, is when you have an internal dialogue that's skewed, that tells you, hey, I need to be needed for something, or my self-esteem is going to be lowered, or I need to be doing this, I need to be seen, I need to be... If you have that program running in your mind, what's going to happen is you're forgetting that main spiritual concept and idea of your value just existing, okay, in the Lord. That's just one example of that archetype of that individual that needs to be needed. And a lot of people build their self-esteem, they build their self off of being looked at a certain way, being needed. But at the end of the day, you want to go back to the basics, family. That you're valuable in existing like that cat. That's not doing anything but being a companion, being some animal, domesticated animal. You could pet them, you could play with them a little bit, but that's it. They're not going out and putting a little burrow on their chin with whiskey in it like a Saint Bernard and rescuing people in the French Alps. No, they are just sitting down, purring and eating and other stuff. This is my point. Think of yourself like that cat. Think of yourself like the cat. And another thing you need to realize, keeping it on cats and an internal dialogue of having a purpose and it being skewed, a lot of times we think we can fix things, family. We think that if we take control, if we clean things up, it's all on us, it's going to be okay. Now, it's a few reasons that's a problem with that. One is, when we do that, we're forgetting about God. God got this. You could do all what you want to do, but if God is not in it, God don't want it to happen, it's not going to happen. You got to let things mature, let things unfold the way God wants them to do. Okay, that's the only way, family. And you have to trust in God. You got to trust in God for your purpose and for your existing purpose, okay? It doesn't have to be what someone else tell you. It doesn't have to be, like I said the other day, the story you were told. You got to look at what you feel, okay? You have to value yourself internally. That's going to dictate your internal dialogue. If you got bad programming, delete it. Delete it, okay? And don't receive any more. And you put new programming in there. Because you can't change, family. A lot of people are in addictions and they're caught up in these different things because, simply put, they are running off of bad programming. They're running off of bad programming, which leads them a bad outcome in how they move in the world. So understand, think yourself like a cat, that you have value, that internal dialogue doesn't have to be dictated by your worth. That doesn't dictate your worth, family, because people can change up anytime. And so now what happens? Your worth changes? No, they don't determine your worth. You do. And your alignment with your God purpose. What else I want to touch on before I get out of here, guys? So keep in mind, as I recap, family, to pay attention to your internal dialogue. Why you have that internal dialogue. That's what I wanted to touch on, guys. I wanted to touch on kind of an interesting concept. But if you had cats in your life, kittens, whatever, you will know that the more you clean up their stuff, the quicker they go do more of it. And family, I thought about that, and I said, that's life. A lot of times, you go to clean something up that you don't want to see, and the more you're going to see it, the more individuals become reliant on you. Okay, the more you put in the work, the more the other person doesn't put in the work. Back up, family. Back up sometimes in life. A lot of people get stressed out and worn down because they are trying to control everything and do a bunch of stuff, and it's making it worse. Sometimes you need to just back up, let God handle it, because He has the ultimate say anyway. But cleaning and trying to clean something, mess up all the time, no. Something in Eastern Asian religion, spiritualism, called the Wu Wei, which is essentially just going with the flow in a nutshell. You could call it stoicism, and you can call it all sorts of ancient practices, but going with the flow, it's a lot of power in that. It's a lot of power in going with the flow and removing yourself from situations and letting them just come about the way they're going to be, instead of worrying and thinking you have control over everything, and you cleaning up something and it's more mess right after you clean it up. Let go. And then you will see the natural direction it's supposed to go in. Hey, if I take my hands off of this, what's going to happen? Will it still be there? Will it still be there for me? Or is it going to go away? If it goes away, family, it never was yours to worry about. So that's a great indicator, but you won't find out until you let your hands up. This is why I say you have to pay attention to your internal dialogue, family, and ask yourself, why am I doing this? Why am I the only person working on this? Where did I get this habit from? And when you start doing that, you start getting more answers. All right, family. Till next time. Love what you do and do what you love. Peace.